Don't go out there to change it. Don't go out there to change the mirror. Just like when you're looking into a mirror, you ain't trying to change your reflection by like putting your thumb on your mouth and saying, "Hey, just smile already. Smile." No, you got to change your inner expression. Welcome back to another episode on the Daily Vortex podcast with Aaron Doughty. I am so excited to be doing this episode right now because I am in the official new podcast studio. I just moved into a house in Sedona, and it is amazing. It is incredible how much work got done on this house in the last 3-4 weeks. I bought the house at the end of 2020, and it was like the closing date for the house was on December 21st, 2020, which I thought was super cool. I didn't choose that, by the way, it just automatically happened like that. And after that, I went back to Vegas, and I literally had people in this house every single day working on it, and it is done. And there's this podcast room studio, and if you're listening to this on the podcast and you can't see it, there's just some cool wood background. I've got these cool couches, and I'll be bringing people on the podcast soon. So I'm super excited. Right now, it's going to be a solo episode, and what I wanted to do is to just kind of share with you some of the things I've been learning just through myself. I've been doing this meditation every day that has been extremely powerful, and it has to do with understanding the energy centers in the body, and also that of the material from the Law of One. I talked about it before. It's channeled material called the Law of One. Law of One talks about the rays, the different rays, which are different energy centers of the body. And these energy centers, also called chakras, or which means wheel, been around for thousands of years, knowing about these different energy wheels, the energy centers in the body. I've been learning about how to clear the energy by doing a meditation where what I do is I go down into each different chakra and I imagine that energy and I imagine it pulsating with light and clearing away energy. And I've been using it as well to get more inside my own body. I think that a lot of times, I've been making YouTube videos now for 3-4 years. And I think there's this tendency when I especially started on YouTube was that a lot of the energy would kind of come down and I'd be in a flow state, but it would come down and then kind of go out my heart, or I wasn't as grounded as I am now. And I think part of the reason was, and I think this happens with a lot of spiritual people, is because of trauma in the past, because of abuse, because of different situations. As spiritual people, what we do is we kind of don't integrate the energy of our bottom 3 chakras, and then we just focus on the top ones. And we just focus on downloading information or getting into a channel state or like the throat, I speak for a living. But what I've been learning more so that actually, working with my shadow integration coach is the more I go into my body, the more I feel safe in my body, the more spiritual growth I'm actually having, the more magnetic energy I have, and the more I feel centered. And the more I also feel masculine. Because a lot of that in the prior was like I wasn't as grounded, because I had all this energy flowing through, but I wasn't grounded in my core. Now, what I want to talk about in this episode is how to clear the energy of these different centers of the body and how to understand how these different energy centers in the body correlate and relate to different aspects of your life and how it really all comes down to the body. Sometimes as spiritual people, we tend to get so preoccupied with the 6th dimension of time and space, the 5th dimension of time and space, and we're setting into 5D. But the thing I think it's important for us to realize is that the body is the subconscious mind. My shadow integration coach, he's always telling me, it all comes back to the body. It all comes back to the body. No matter how esoteric or spiritual we want to be, the most spiritual thing we can do is actually to be more in the body, and how to be more present in the body, and how to feel safe in the body. But a lot of what it talks about in the Law of One material is it talks about that of how we are ascending from a 3rd density level of consciousness into what is called a 4th density level of consciousness. And when you think about this, we are moving from the 3rd energy center into the 4th energy center. The 3rd energy center would be that of the solar plexus, which is attributed to willpower, discipline, our sense of self, the sense of the ego, and power dynamics. And the fourth chakra is that of the heart, the connection to oneness, the connection to each other, love. And what we're doing in this life, I believe, is we're moving from third density to fourth density. We're moving from being predominantly in the bottom three chakras, but also having an imbalance of the third chakra of solar plexus, think of that of also the willpower, the ego. We're moving into that of the fourth chakra, which is love. And we're doing that in this lifetime. And we're going through it right now, actually. Now, the thing that happens, though, is most people are trapped in the bottom three chakras. They're trapped in survival mode. They're trapped in their solar plexus, their sacral chakra, meaning their relationships with other people, sexuality. I think that's why the porn industry is so massive. There's such an imbalance of the sacral chakra. And it's this primal aspect of these bottom three chakras. And if we can look at all advertising, all marketing, if you look to it, what you'll notice is that it all is primed to keeping people in the bottom three chakras. If people are in fear, they're much easier to control, keep people in the bottom chakras not feeling safe, which is related to the root, and which is also related to like the base of your spine. And these energy centers move up the body. And I can look to my life, and that's kind of what I wanted to share in this episode as well. I can look to my life and I can see how there's been different imbalances in my own energy and how that's correlated with what I'm experiencing in my own life. So, for example, if I were to look at my own relationships, if I were to look at my pattern that I have of attracting a certain archetype, a certain type of either friends or girlfriends into my life, I can see that that pattern is based on the childhood trauma that I went through, and the people that I attract resurface up that trauma over and over again for me to look at. This a lot of times will happen and we're not aware of it. However, I've shared this many times. I'm not going to go too deep into it because sometimes I feel so repetitive with it. But the ex-stepmom situation of having a narcissist in my life, having somebody trying to control me. From 7 to 16 years old, had that in my life, had no freedom at all. And because of that, even after my ex-stepmom left my life at 15, 16 years old, I kept attracting women into my life specifically that were trying to control me. Not men, women. Because my belief, my pattern was around women trying to control me. So I had this belief, this story, this pattern that had that on autopilot. The first girlfriend I had was very jealous. And even though she wasn't physically abusive, she was mentally very needy, codependent. And I felt like I couldn't do things with friends. I always felt like I was in a little box, just like with my ex-stepmom. Within weeks of breaking up with her, I got transferred to a better department, selling women's shoes. At Nordstrom's, I worked in BP shoes, went to Salon shoes, better department. And the manager of that department was literally a clone of my ex-stepmom. She almost looked kind of like her, but also she acted like her. She was manipulative like her. And no matter what we did to get her fired, it didn't work because she was protected by upper management. So that she was in my life. Then I went through my spiritual awakening in 2012. I forgave my ex-stepmom. I changed my beliefs by becoming aware that that pattern. And guess what? Within literally a week or two, that manager was fired for something really stupid. That pattern left. But even then, I've had this narcissistic thing come in my life every now and then. And it's less and less and less as time goes on. But I think that what happens is that is directly correlated with my relationships with other people, which is also correlated to my sacral chakra. So the archetype, the beliefs that I had about women were in a way stored in my body, stored in my perception, and I was going out into the world, and based on my energy field, I was attracting situations into my life to reflect back this unhealed pattern that is literally lodged inside my body. You ever notice that some people as well, I used to get acupuncture done. You talk about acupuncture, they poke you in different parts of your body, which correlate with different emotions, with different organs. these organs, which these different chakras correlate with, also relate to that of these emotional patterns that we have going on. But if we want to heal, the key is also being aware of where the emotion originated. A lot of times medicine will just look at the physical body and it doesn't actually look at maybe where the emotion started. I know that my kidneys, I believe, are the thing that an acupuncture, they're always saying I need balancing of. I know that my sense of safety with adrenals, there's flight or fight response, which is related to the sacral, the root chakra. I have this mentality of like success always being wired and going in a certain direction, which directly affects the adrenals. Sleep has an impact on melatonin, how much I dream at night. So something I've become aware of recently is this survival mechanism that I get into where I'm always on kind of like this. I'm a very intense person, just in general. But I can see how that may have also I put up this shield in a way to where then my adrenals are always kind of firing, which is the root chakra, the survival mode. And I've created this armor around me. And this also in my mind takes me back to that of this breath work that I did in Costa Rica back in 2017. There was this breath work experience where I was breathing in, breathing out in a certain pattern for like an hour and doing this breath work. It was so transformative. It brought all this emotion up to the surface. And afterwards, I was talking to one of the instructors because she was coming around and she was like re-engaging different parts of my body and like helping me to like breathe deeper. And she told me, she said, by looking at someone's breathing pattern, you can tell their personality. I thought that was interesting. So I said to her, egotistical as we all are, we want to know what our personality is, right? So I was like, well, what's my personality like? Because mine was so profound. I had this thing, it's very common actually, where my hands locked up like a praying mantis. And then what happened is it was like this really intenseness, but I felt this energy leaving my body. I guess that was stored trauma that was leaving my body. And then as it was released and I felt so clear and I had this like almost vision of this mandala, and I was no drugs at all, by the way. It was just oxygen. That was what was freaking crazy. And then afterwards, I'm like, yo, so what's my personality like? And she was like, well, I can tell that you are an overachiever. I said, oh, I don't know if that sounds good. She's like, you have developed this armor around your back and around your front because of some childhood experience. And then you had to be somebody. You had to be tough. You had to be somebody to survive. And now you have this armor around you, but you believe that you have to work really hard to be successful. It's that survival mechanism. And I was able to see, even when I take deep breaths, sometimes I'm like, when I do that, it's like clenching my back. There's this armor around me. And that armor, I also think, is connected to like heart walls or something where like maybe it was harder for me to connect to certain people because I always had this guard up. Are you my ex-stepmom? Are you going to try to control me? And there's like this guard up. And what I had to do is become aware of it, that I can let that guard down. I'm not in that survival threat, like fight or flight response anymore. But it takes me back to that memory of that breath work. But in the same way, it was like that's part of the survival mechanism, this armor around me that's protecting me from other people. And in a way, if we don't feel safe, then we're not able to really be our most authentic selves. We're not really even in our body. And I think that a lot of what we see in the media, a lot what we see going on in the world, it's triggered to keep us in balance in the bottom three chakras so that we are much more controllable. And what's happening is now we are having this ability to where we're moving to the fourth chakra, but we have to clear the bottom three chakras in order to do that. This is a clip from the Daily Vortex podcast where I post 2 times a week, and we go really deep on understanding consciousness, understanding how to raise our vibration, how to bring these spiritual concepts down to earth in a relatable and practical way. For the whole entire episode, you can click the link below, but also subscribe to that of the Daily Vortex podcast on either iTunes or Spotify. That's where there are a backlog of over 100 episodes, plus the whole entire episode length is there. On this channel, you will only be seeing clips moving forward. So if you want the whole episodes, you can click click the link below. You can subscribe. They're also very easy to listen to. They're automatically downloaded once you subscribe. Plus, you'll never miss an episode. So this is where most of my intention is and my energy is going these days. And I look forward to bringing you many more amazing episodes. But for the rest of this episode, you can click below and you can subscribe to the Daily Vortex podcast. And I look forward to helping you expand your consciousness in a very practical and relatable way. So I'll see you on the next episode. And as always, peace, much love, and namaste.